Funding for Fighting Fat comes from the Dr. Donald Goodman and Ruth Weber Goodman Philanthropic Fund of the Cleveland Foundation, the Mount Sinai Healthcare Foundation, the Margaret Clark Morgan Foundation, the McGregor Foundation, St. Luke's Foundation, and the Woodruff Foundation. Up next, the psychology, biology, and pathology of fat.
Obesity has reached the level of a health crisis in our society at this point.
See fat like never before. Learn the danger it poses and the secret to losing.
You can't see how to do it, and it's right in front of us.
There's absolutely no magic bullet. Absolutely none.
Now follow one man's story, a biography of fighting fat.
And no puller, honey. Ginger, come. Come on, sweetheart.
It's 6:30 a.m. on a typical school day, and William Baker is hard at work.
Mornings are constant. It's go, 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 go. We have to get it done. Good workout, Mom?
Vicki, Baker's wife, just returned from a 5:30 a.m. trip to the gym. The couple's two oldest daughters are getting ready to catch the bus.
Oh my goodness. Maybe you have to stay home from school. What do you think?
No.
No? Okay. The oldest two have gone to school. They get on the bus at 7. Now I just have awakened Noelle, so she's getting ready to go to school. I have to get Vicky's lunch ready.
When we had number 3 and decided one of us needed to stay home, all my training and background being a physician, I wasn't going to be the one to stay home. So he's like, well, there's no other way.
I like being the helper. I like helping people succeed and accomplishing what they need to do or they want to do. That makes me feel good, being a stay-at-home dad. It wasn't my goal. That wasn't necessarily our plan, but it has worked out that way, and it's worked out very well. And I've got to see my kids in a way that a lot of men don't. Bye. Have a good day. You too.
With Vicki out the door, Ginger fed, and the youngest on the bus, Baker heads for the gym to wage war against something he's battled most of his life: fat.
All of us that are overweight, whether it's 50, 60, 80, 20, 10 pounds, we all have to deal with that issue. And it becomes the point of how do you deal with that issue?
Baker is 5'10". In September 2009, he weighed 283 pounds. Since then, he's been in an aggressive fight to lose weight. 5 months later, Baker weighed 237 pounds. By medical standards, that's still considered obese. Weight categories are defined by a measurement called the Body Mass Index, or BMI, computed by a person's height and weight. At a weight of 237, Baker's BMI is 34. A BMI of 30 or greater is considered obese. Most people are surprised to learn that carrying just 20 or 30 extra pounds puts them in the overweight or obese category. That may sound extreme, but the reality is those extra pounds put people at greater risk for a host of medical problems. And the scary thing is, these days, most Americans have a weight problem.
If you combine Americans who are either overweight or obese, it's actually 2 out of 3. And so what that means is that it's actually a minority of Americans who are in the normal weight category.
So what exactly is fat, and what purpose does it serve? There are 2 types of fat, or adipose tissue, in the human body. One kind is brown fat.
Its main job is to produce energy and heat. And so you find brown fat in newborn infants. Before in utero, mom takes care of all the heat and the glucose. But once the baby's born, it has to make its own heat.
Doctors used to think brown fat disappeared during childhood, but in some adults, small amounts stick around and have benefits.
We now know that there is a remnants of brown adipose tissue along the thyroid, along the spine. And that is one theory, that people who can eat more and exercise less and still maintain their body weight probably do have more brown adipose tissue than a person who gains weight very easily.
White fat is the other, more common type of fat. It's what makes people obese, or severely obese in the case of this patient. Please be forewarned, some of the footage you're about to see gets graphic. Surgeon Human Sultanian is getting ready to remove a 3-foot by 3-foot apron of fat from the abdomen of a woman who stands 5'1" and weighs 350 pounds.
This apron goes from side to side, from hip to hip. I think her incision probably going to be somewhere between 2 and 3 feet long.
Dr. Sultanian cuts away at a thick wall of what is called subcutaneous fat, the stuff that sits just below our skin.
You can see this is skin, this is the superficial subcutaneous fat.
Under the microscope, white fat cells resemble balloons, as scientist Colleen Croniger explains.
This is the white adipose tissue, and I just want to point out how large that cell is. It's filled with fat, with lipid, that is going to be stored and used as energy at a later time.
Food acts as fuel for our bodies, keeping all our vital organs running. Whatever does not get used at feeding time gets stored as fat. Maintaining a healthy weight depends on maintaining a balance between the calories you take in as food and the calories you burn for energy. And what most people don't understand is, it's really not calories that you burn during exercise that matter most. It's actually the calories you burn during rest. That's something William Baker, and anyone else wanting to lose weight, needs to understand. It's called your basal metabolic rate, or BMR.
That's what his body requires to maintain his muscle, to beat his heart, to have respiration, for digestion. I mean, all your body functions take calories.
Remember the fat that got stored after feeding time? Well, the more calories you burn at rest, the more you're getting rid of that fat. People with healthy eating habits and healthy diets burn more calories at rest. So do people who maintain a high level of fitness. Muscle, unlike fat, burns more calories.
So a person who is made of more muscle than a person of the same weight who's made of more fat can eat more on any given day and be less likely to gain weight, because muscle takes more calories to keep alive than fat.
Being less fit and having less muscle mass makes you burn fewer calories at rest. So that extra fat that got stored away after feeding time just sits there and accumulates, putting you in a state of excess energy.
The first thing fat cells do when you have excess energy is they get larger. The second thing that happens over time, if you continue to be in a state of excess energy, meaning you're taking in more energy than you're burning up, then they start to multiply as well.
And so you keep generating more and more fat cells, and the big fat cells are less metabolically active.
For years, that's what happened inside the body of William Baker.
It becomes overwhelming when you get to a certain weight. And, where do you start? You need some people to guide you.
It seems so insurmountable. You can't get on top of it. It's like that mountain that you're climbing, and it's just impossible that you'll never reach the top.
Why is it so hard to lose weight and keep it off? And more importantly, why do so many people get so heavy? For one thing, we don't get this way overnight. In fact, for many people, the makings of obesity begin at birth. William Thomas Baker was born and raised in rural North Carolina on a tobacco farm. He was the youngest of 4 children. Life on the farm was hard.
It was a tough time. I mean, it wasn't that we felt underprivileged or we felt that we had to do something that no one else had to do, but it was a way of survival. We worked and we plowed the fields and planted the fields and harvested the fields and took care of the animals. So if you had homework or other things to do, it came after your chores. I think the most important thing I learned from growing up where I did and how I did was that each person is responsible for themselves. I'm responsible for how my life turns out, and whatever comes my way, good, bad, it's how I handle it, and it's my responsibility to survive through it and make something for myself.
The Baker family worked hard and ate hearty, typical Southern food full of fat and rich in carbohydrates. Even though all the children grew up eating the same food, only William Baker and his middle sister have problems with weight. Their other two siblings never did. Here's where genetics, the DNA we inherit from our parents, trumps diet. Baker's mom was overweight for most of her life, while Baker's father was always thin. Baker and his middle sister likely inherited a genetic predisposition for obesity from their mother's side of the family. In labs across the country, including here at Case Western Reserve University School of Medicine, researchers are trying to pinpoint the genes involved with obesity.
It's not just one gene. There's very, very few diseases that can be like a one-gene disease. It's many genes, and so it's these genes and how they interact in the background of the other genes.
So by the time William Baker was 16 years old, he was about 40 pounds overweight. After 9th grade, he dropped out of school, in part to avoid embarrassment about his weight.
I don't know if I would label myself as having a bad self-image, because I always felt good about myself, but I didn't feel good about my weight.
Baker got a job flipping burgers and eventually joined the Navy, serving as a medic for the Marines. Before boot camp, Baker had to lose 20 pounds. The structure of the military was good for weight control. After 6 years, Baker left the military to pursue an education. It was during this time he met Vicki Ehrlich, who was studying to become a doctor.
We dated with him being overweight, and it bothered me to a certain extent, but not enough that it stopped me from falling in love with him.
William and Vicki were married in May 1996. Before the wedding, Baker lost 20 pounds, but regained it within a year. The same pattern he had had in the military: lose, then gain it back. Most overweight people are like William Baker. They lose weight and regain it and more, usually more than once. And what most people don't realize is that biology actually works against them when it comes to maintaining permanent weight loss. Remember those fat cells that accumulate and get bigger when the body does not use them for energy? Well, they never go away. While they shrink with weight loss, they remain as permanent fixtures, waiting on the sidelines with the potential to expand again and multiply. Keeping those fat cells at bay calls for exercise that allows you to build and maintain muscle, because muscle is a metabolically active tissue. It burns calories.
You want the percent of your body that's made of muscle to be the highest that is practical. What it means is at whatever weight you are, that you have a high proportion of muscle compared to fat.
Burning up fat cells also calls for eating at regular intervals throughout the day. Not skipping meals like breakfast. Skipping meals makes your body think it needs to store more fat.
It saves the fat. It says, uh-oh, I might not get enough calories today, so what does it do? It starts holding on to the fat.
The same effect occurs with crash diets that restrict caloric intake below the point the body needs to maintain its basic functions. That can make your body think it's starving, so it slows down its metabolism.
Your metabolism freaks out, and you basically shut down to a lower level. So your body requires a lot less energy.
The body may even start eating its own muscle to preserve fat it thinks it will need to survive.
So if you have less muscle mass, you then are burning less energy.
People like William Baker, who were overweight in childhood, face a double whammy. Not only do they have more fat cells as adults, they are also less likely to have built more muscle in their formative years. Baker never played sports in school.
Well, I didn't play sports because I felt self-conscious about my weight. I didn't do it because I didn't want to be out there for the whole school to see.
Like most people who lose weight only to regain it again, William Baker had not put all the pieces of the puzzle together to understand what it takes to be healthy.
You can't see how to do it, and it's right in front of us. All right, Liv, let's go in. It's time for class.
William Baker's battle with fat brewing since childhood, shaped more than just his physical physique. Starting at age 16 with his decision to quit school, through his time as a medic for the Marines, and stretching into his present role as a stay-at-home dad, Baker operated in the background.
As I got older, I started to realize more and more and more that I was making decisions in my life about things to do or not to do based on the fact of the excess weight.
That's nice. You did a good job.
Avoiding the limelight became a form of learned behavior for Baker, a pattern that made it easy to remain overweight.
I think it's very common that when people begin to pursue eating or pursue any other kind of reinforcing habit, that they unconsciously orchestrate the environment and the situations that they live in so that it's easier to obtain those things, whether that's eating or alcohol or whatever.
For Baker, it became easy not to make time to exercise. He was too busy driving the girls to their activities.
She said, "How was your foot?"
The hectic schedule also made it easy to justify the need to eat fast food on the run.
Well, I think it's very convenient to just say, well, I don't have time to prepare anything. We'll just stop here and get something to eat. And so it was convenient. It was convenient by choice.
I know he's always loved pop. I would just give little snippets about, do you know how many calories is in there?
For Baker, the excess pounds began to take a toll, both physically and mentally.
He was tired, he was irritable, all that you could tell just kind of building up. I think all the stress, the kids, keeping up with the house, keeping up with the groceries, the laundry, all the stuff that goes with being home.
The most dangerous fat is the kind that accumulates around the belly. Remember the subcutaneous fat that sits just below the surface of the abdomen? The more dangerous type sits deeper, below the abdomen muscle. Using a tool called an endoscope, Surgeon Lena Caton prepares to go deep inside the abdomen and give us a view.
Can we have the room lights down, please? You can see it's very chunky. You can see that that's fairly thick.
You can think about it as fat cells that kind of spill over into places they shouldn't be. They go into places like your liver and your muscles and surround your organs, and that fat, which is called the visceral fat, is the fat that's very worrisome because it starts to cause changes in the body.
One change that's surprising to most people occurs in the liver.
These yellow-orange areas, okay, that's all fat.
Dr. Caton and others performing gastric bypass surgery as a treatment for obesity routinely biopsy the liver of patients to look for fatty liver disease that can actually lead to cirrhosis.
We tend to think of cirrhosis of the liver coming primarily from alcohol or drug use, but it can happen from excess fat.
In fact, a host of life-threatening diseases are linked to obesity, including heart disease, diabetes, as well as certain cancers. Another threat from belly fat is something called metabolic syndrome, which is a group of conditions like high blood pressure and high cholesterol that puts people at an increased risk for heart attack and stroke. William Baker was a walking time bomb and knew it. He saw what happened to his mom. Peggy Baker, who was overweight most of her life, developed diabetes, had a stroke, heart problems, and ended up on dialysis. On her deathbed in August 2006, she made her youngest son promise not to follow in her footsteps.
I promised in hospice when she was passing that I would do something about my weight issue. So I promised her. So you have to keep your promise to Mom,
Despite that promise, William Baker was still not ready to make the necessary changes in his life to reclaim his health.
Readiness to change doesn't come until we ourselves begin to accept that this is no good and I want to change. It's not that somebody else wants me to, it's that I need to.
You know what? The raw broccoli and the vegetables and all the fruits are on the table, okay? Okay, Noel?
William Baker is a man who knows how to overcome obstacles. He went from being a high school dropout to graduating with honors with a degree in architecture from Kent State University.
Oh, Olivia, you have a back spring clinic.
But one thing Baker has not yet mastered is weight control. In the fall of 2009, Baker found himself getting out of breath just from going up the stairs, and he continually made excuses not to go outside and play with his daughters.
You feel a little bit like a failure. It was hard, and there were times where I would just sit on the couch at night and just think about the fact that what they wanted to do today and I wasn't able to do it.
There was this mean person that I know, and he said that my dad's fat.
I love him, fat or skinny, you know, but it's hard because you want to be able to do the things in life that require you to be fit and healthy.
Okay, well, let's take a look.
It was a conversation with his family physician that finally caused Baker to hit bottom.
So I suggested to him even considering the gastric bypass program. And it seems kind of drastic perhaps to some people, but it definitely is an option.
Gastric bypass, which involves surgically reconfiguring the digestive system, is the most radical treatment for obesity. But it remains controversial, and it was not something William Baker wanted to consider. Baker remembered the promise he made to his mother as she was passing. As her youngest child, Baker shared a special bond with his mom. He was determined not to let her down.
She raised us to do what we needed to do and just to get the job done, and we could do anything we set our mind to.
Keep your abs in and your back tight. Make sure you're not feeling this in your low back. Good.
Baker got involved with a program in Avon at the EMH Center for Health and Fitness called Extreme Loser.
Look at those feet!
The 12-week program divides participants into teams that compete to lose inches and pounds.
Crank it right there.
The program does more than promote exercise. For Baker, it became the key ingredient to mastering the science behind weight loss. Baker began to understand the importance of consuming the right amount of calories from the right kinds of food at the right times of day to give his body the necessary calories required to support basic functions.
As soon as you get your body to realize it's going to get what it needs for basic body functions consistently every day, then it will start to shed the fat.
What else? You want strawberry?
Baker also identified negative patterns in his life and designed strategies to correct them.
The first step to any behavior change effort has to be to recognize what the patterns are, what the triggers to eating are, what the contexts in which we eat are, and seeing how pervasive this has really become.
We used to buy a lot of prepackaged, ready-to-go meals, especially for the kids. It was quick and easy with the schedule, but now we are very careful, what we buy. Fresh fruits and vegetables are a staple. We eat lots of them and eating more of them as time goes along.
Baker now uses a giant blackboard to budget the necessary time he needs for himself to exercise.
You have to know yourself and find a way to make yourself operate efficiently. And if I do this, I do. I operate that way.
In the Extreme Loser program that ended in December 2009, Baker lost 51 pounds and was one of the top performers. In early 2010, Baker enrolled for a second 12 weeks.
That's great. That's great. Good job.
By week 5, results are evident. His waist, once over 55 inches, now measures under 40. But the big challenge for Baker and anyone losing weight is maintenance, sustaining exercise and healthy eating over the long haul.
It's not just a game. It's not 12 weeks. It's for the rest of their lives. And if they take that away from it, they will succeed.
The same thing we just did. Come on.
Losing weight has changed William Baker, both outside and in. For starters, he's improved his health. And these days, Baker no longer tries to stay in the background.
I would never have done this show a year ago, but I think it's because you feel so good. I feel so good that I've accomplished it, and I know I've accomplished this, I know I can accomplish what's to come. So it's easier to put myself out there because I feel better about myself.
At church, Baker is much more comfortable standing up in front of people, serving as a liturgist.
I think sometimes we have ourselves pigeoned as what we think we are or think we need to be. And when you change something drastically about yourself, that changes how you feel about yourself and how you see yourself.
I thought he was a really good person to follow who would inspire others because of the challenges that he faces, because he faces the challenges that a lot of people face.
I don't want someone else to have to wait 25 years to decide that it's important to them or that they have what it takes now to do it, or that they have to go find that certain person or that certain book or that certain mechanism outside of themselves to do it. If they have the ability to do it, they just have to decide to do it and do it.
To find out how William Baker is doing at maintaining his weight loss and to learn more about obesity in general, visit our website, health.wviz.org. Also, listen to 90.3 WCPN for more stories and programs about obesity and related topics. Funding for Fighting Fat comes from the Dr. Donald Goodman and Ruth Weber Goodman Philanthropic Fund of the Cleveland Foundation, the Mount Sinai Healthcare Foundation, the Margaret Clark Morgan Foundation, the McGregor Foundation, St. Luke's Foundation, and the Woodruff Foundation.